Don't you think some people, they'd rather be minions, though?
He said, I boiled it down to one question. Why are you a teacher?
Nope, you're not a good fit for this position.
Most of our challenges in small business, they stem from a recruiting problem.
Yeah, I want you to get this shit done, get it done. That's why you're here with me in the team. Let's get more technical.
Yeah.
Okay? And these are advice for people who want to start a company, hire people, etc. So now I'm going to ask you some questions about hiring, firing. Yeah. When do you know it's time to fire? When do you know it's time? Oh, nope, you're not a good fit for this position, okay? But we'll go one by one.
Okay.
All right? Top 3 questions for an interview.
Honestly, for me, there's top 1.
Hit me.
My top 1 question is, why this industry? I learned this. So everywhere I went, I would always speak to leaders, the top of the corporations. I'd always ask them the same question. What do you look for when you're hiring? Best answer I ever got was from a lifelong, he was head of a school board. And he said, Colt, I've hired teachers and principals my whole career. That was my main job as head of the school board. He said, I boiled it down to one question. Why are you a teacher? And if they didn't tell me in their first answer or very close second that they love children, I knew they weren't cut out for it. And so the same has been true when I started asking people that in real estate and other industries I've worked in as well. Why this industry? If it isn't because, hey, I love people and I really like helping people.
You asked me this question, by the way.
Yeah.
In our first session, I think.
Yeah, so I use it in interview coaching clients. Because here's the thing, they may be successful if it's about money or if about something else, but at the core, they're not going to bring the heart and the DNA that I'm looking for in this role, where the rainy days won't matter to them if they're doing it for a bigger purpose than themselves. And so I just want to know, are they inwardly focused or are they looking to someone else to get fulfillment in life, externally focused?
Interesting. When do you know it's time to fire this employee?
If you're thinking about it,
then it's time.
It's probably too late. Most issues, though, is that I'm going to assume a lot of your listeners are small business owners. Is that correct?
Or maybe people who wants to start a business.
Okay, great. Yeah. Oftentimes the small business owners are so busy that they're never doing constant, like they're not monitoring someone's progress. So they don't have systematic and timely check-ins, even once a quarter where they sit down and just do a review. Hey, what are the metrics in this role? Have we established metrics? Do you know what they are? Do I know what they are? And are you working towards them? If you're having that conversation regularly, I've found that people self-select when they're not a good fit for the role. I've very rarely had to fire someone. If you're not doing that, all this tension builds in you. You want to explode. It's never the missing system that keeps you up at night as a business owner. It's the who. And as a small business owner, you can't afford to hire someone in a role that is not suited for it behaviorally or has the experience to really crush it, because you don't have time to build a training program at this stage of your growth. That's the bottom line. You need someone who can own and champion this role. And if you don't have them, you know within 3 weeks.
Do you know how many employees I fired in the last 3 years?
I don't. I'm curious to know.
Give it a guess.
I'm going to go wild on this one. Maybe 15?
1.
Whoa. Okay. I thought you were going the other direction. Good.
Yeah, 1. But I do the same, but I didn't know, like, it's a technique. Like, I would, just, every day when I go home, automatically I think what happened yesterday? Yeah. What happened today? Okay, how can we do things better? My mind is always going like this.
Yeah.
Okay, are they filling their position? Are they doing this? Blah, blah, blah. So when I notice, and we do this weekly talks with my team, monthly talks, and etc. Out of these talks, they realize it's not a good match. Mm-hmm. I should do something else. And they quit. And I always, beautiful. Like, when someone quits, I always tell them.
That's a gift. Because you're giving them an opportunity to find what they're really great at.
Yeah, and they quit, and I tell them, stay as long as you want until you find another job. Mm-hmm. It's not like, hey, you quit, you're out of the team, get the fuck out of here now. Mm-hmm. Not because I'm a good person. I am a good person. But I don't do it just because I'm a good person. Like, if I fire you, we're in Canada. There's a high risk you can come after me. This is the first reason, and this is something they should know. When you start a business, don't just going on hiring, firing. You're not the boss. The government is the boss in Canada. So, it's like, second thing, you're also creating this hate, especially if you're in a small city like Ottawa. Yeah. Imagine you fired 20 people and now you're going to an event. Oh, shit, that's an employee that I fired. Oh, shit, that's an employee that maybe I should have given another chance. If they left and you said good luck and you gave good references, you're happy to see them in public.
You're building goodwill in the marketplace.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly. I'm trying my best. It doesn't work all the time, but I'm trying my best.
That's great.
All right. So that's when we know that we have to fire. What is the best management technique that you can recommend to managers? Like 3 advice you want to give to a manager. 5 to 10 people on their team, or 1 to 10.
One of the biggest hurdles goes back to the firing conversation, but not having routine meetings. If you have systematic times where you have a scheduled meeting once a week and then a bigger meeting once a month or once a quarter, You're going to constantly be sharing the vision, evaluating what their gaps are in the role, clarifying the role, helping them with what they need, and building relationship with them. What a lot of small business owners end up doing is just they hire people and they set expectations and often never communicate the expectations. And so they get all pent up and frustrated. They carry this angst and never really get to where they want to go because they haven't demonstrated any true leadership. So if it was just one thing, I would just buckle it down to let's check in at intervals and hold those meetings seriously. Don't just, I'm busy, I got a client. You can't cancel that meeting all the time. That has to be your most important meeting of the week because you're sending out the troops to do all their work.
You said something triggered me.
Okay.
You tell them your expectations and you need to also let them talk and let them ask their questions and whatever, give their opinion, right? I tried this one.
Okay.
And I found there is a loophole in it. There's a weakness in this. I'll tell you why. If I tell you that's what I want from you, and I'm giving you a payroll, that's what I have to provide. If I'm asking, what do you think? Is this fair expectations? Even if you even thought for a second that it is fair, but I'm giving you the will to ask me to destroy these expectations. So now, I used to tell people like, hey, that's what I want to do. What do you think? I never heard anyone saying, oh, we should add because of the work ethics that we have right now. Yeah, you can tell me, yeah, that's not the right employee.
Well, actually, I might have miscommunicated. What I was referring to is more getting feedback on their situations.
Okay, yeah, feedback on the situation.
So they're a client, hey, this is what's going on. What would you do here? They're more asking for input on.
So what would you do if, let's say, I'm a manager in your team and we have a meeting? Do you just tell me these are the expectations for the next week? That's what I want you to do? Or do you say, what do you think? We should remove something? Is it too much? Or should we add something on? Should we communicate this? Or should we just give these fucking orders? That's what I'm trying to say.
It's a really good question. And one of the best resources on this was a book called 4 Disciplines of Execution. Why I like this so much is they've done research over hundreds of thousands of companies in order to gather the intel on this. And the way they explained it was starting each of your meetings off where you're each setting goals for next week. And in terms of the key metrics, so what's been pre-established is I know the key metrics for the role, you know the key metrics for the role. Now for next week, let's say it's calling, outbound calling. I'm going to reach out to 5 clients on our top 100 list. I, as the leader, will go first and set my goal and show by example what I'm going to be doing towards my metric, and I'm going to show up each week having delivered it. And then I'm going to ask them what they're going to do. So I'm going to set the pace for that. I'll ask them to set their own metric because I want to know, hey, maybe they got a family coming in from out of town this week. Maybe they plan on taking 2 afternoons off or something like that.
You also want to see how much they're ambitious about this work.
Exactly.
This job. Actually, my brother gave me this advice. He said, do this a year ago. Every Mondays, we have weekly calls. I tell them what's my plans and ask each one of them what's your plans. And they know they need to prep for this call.
That's right.
And then accountability call next week to see if they did what they did.
So there may be times where I would challenge someone to just stretch. Hey, I think you can double that. I believe in you. I think you can do more.
On one-on-one call or on the same call where everyone is in there?
It depends on the chemistry of the team, like and their level of confidence and stuff like that, but most likely in the group. If there's a check-in, if there's a situation, I would do that one-on-one first. I wouldn't call them out in front of the group and embarrass them, shame them. That's just the culture of team I would want to build. However, the idea is if you give them autonomy, and this is part of a foundational thing of coaching too, the reason I want you to decide your plans, I want them to come organically from you is because if you author it, you own it. And I want you to own it. I don't want you to do what I tell you to do. Then you're like a minion, right? I want you to step into your confidence by saying, you know what, next week I think I can do this. And what's even better is when you look at the guy beside you or the girl beside you and say, man, she had a great week. I'm inspired to try something bigger.
Don't you think some people, they'd rather be minions though?
Yes. Yeah. And you're deciding who you want to build a team with, right? You want people who are thinking resourcefully to stretch themselves, champion themselves to a higher version of themselves? Or do you want someone that's just, I'll take orders and that's it, right?
What do you think of the work ethic in 2023, 2024? Let's talk about in Canada.
Ethics?
Yeah. Work ethics. What's the work ethics now? Is it different? Like you've been here, I've been in Canada for 5 years only. So I
think if we sat down and asked everybody in Canada what they mean by ethics, we'd get 40 million different answers. But
work ethics, like you know how people are passionate about their works, they're respectful to their employees, they're grateful for having an opportunity, they want to work hard because they want to be good employees, not just because they want to pay their bills. That's work ethics for me. So
to me, the issue is less with ethics and more with leadership. If you see the studies by industry like Gallup or anybody like that, the vast majority, more than half of the working industry is checked out in their job. They're just showing up to just get the paycheck. For a lot of people, they're not inspired. And a lot of people will say, oh, it has to do with millennials, it has to do with this and that, entitlement. Whatever their reasons is, to me, it has nothing to do with the individuals. I mean, they're like you and I. Everybody wants to be better on some level. It's just, do we believe in ourselves is the constraint. So we can blame the workers for maybe not having the right ethics, or we can blame the leaders for not calling out what they see. And so oftentimes I'm working with leaders to help them speak life into the people around them, because everybody looks at all the things they're doing wrong. But how many people have someone in their life that say, you did a really great job on that last week. I want you to know that you're valued on this team. You're making a difference in this company, right?
Only if they are actually making a difference.
Well, you might have to find the sliver of...
Really? So I have to reward them for being the fifth? So even if you're the fifth in the class, I have to make you a medallion? That's what they're doing these days. And then all the kids are becoming
This isn't a purple
losers.
ribbon conversation, no. The idea is that maybe they're not hitting the metrics. But if we break it down, there could be one thing that they're doing well in that, and what we do is expand on that one thing. Let's get it to two.
Let me clarify this.
All right.
I wasn't asking you to put it, is it the leaders or it's the employees? I don't think it's the employees' mistake, and I don't think it's the leaders' mistake too.
That's fair.
In my opinion, a leader should not stress, how can I make this person so happy? Hey, I'm giving you an opportunity. I want you to get this shit done. Get it done. That's why you're here with me in the team. Now we put more efforts into it because people are becoming more soft. Why they're becoming more soft? Because of the job regulations. If I know I can come after my employer for not being the nicest on earth, or for telling me your job is shit, your work last week was shit, literally, if you say this to an employee, you can get into legal shit. You know? Yeah. So when I know that I have the power to do this, when I know that I can go sit at home 6 months and get paid, when I know that I don't actually need to work so I can feed my family, there's other government resources that I can do. I can be a loser and do. Then I will show up to work feeling like I have options. You know, when you go, when you have a girlfriend and then every day you're getting hit on by 1,500 other women, and she pisses you off the first day, first thing you think of is like, oh, maybe Emma could have treated me better. Now I think of my options. That's like regular people, not like godly like you. Okay, it's like he's giving me those smiles. Like, no, that's not true. It's like, you know, that's what I think, and that's what are your thoughts on this?
I think those are scary situations for any employer to be in, any business owner, to have someone that would even think that way on the inside. And fundamentally, what I've noticed it comes down to is most of our challenges in small business, they stem from a recruiting problem, not a leadership or management problem. And so if I know how to identify good human beings and I invite them into an opportunity to better themselves, chances are I'm going to have a really great team.
You're a good politics. I'm not going to let you run away from this.
I don't know.
Okay, yes. Do you agree with the labor board job regulations that we have in Canada and Ontario? Do you agree with all of them? Would you change anything? That's just my question. You can say yes or no. I'm not gonna go hard on you with this.
There's for sure. There's lots I would change. Do I have the intelligence to understand all the problems and make the changes? Probably not. However, yeah, there's a lot of challenges.
And do you think some of their unreasonable things that they have on the list is affecting the work ethics in our province or in our country and it's causing trouble to entrepreneurs?
This is where I think the onus is on the entrepreneur, not the regulations.
I'm sorry, but when you're in a culture that is not helpful, you're running 500 interviews and the 500 aren't qualified. At the end of the day, you need employees. What do? You just bring unqualified people and be Captain Fix-A-Hoe?
So now if you have to hire for front lines and stuff, we're talking beyond small business at this point, that's a really challenging
problem. Stan, I challenge you now. I challenge you to start a company, hire 10 people that they're not like, making juices and coffees. 10 people that you actually want them to use their head, not PhDs. I challenge you to find 10 qualified people in 6 months. I challenge you to do it in Ottawa.
So where I would go with this is that a lot of the issues come from posting job ads and attracting your talent that way. When I've studied some of the best resources and some top companies in the world, they're not recruiting off of job boards because a 9 out of 10 talent isn't looking for a job. wherever they are, JC, they're crushing it. You want to find talent on your team in any role, any level, you got to go to your network because birds of a feather flock together, right? So I remember one lady I hired, she was in university at the time. I just needed someone to help me with events. I knew her dad. He was a client, a friend. I reached out and just said, who do you know? He said, my daughter might be a great fit for this. She was incredible, absolutely incredible, because she came from good stock, right?
Yes.
Her father was a good leader. He trained her up. And so when you go to your network and you say, this is who I'm looking for, who do you know? Your chances of finding great people, but it takes some work. However, it takes less work than screening hundreds of applicants, sitting down with all these pointless interviews only to find people that are going to be maybe a 6 out of 10 for that role. Not as a human being, they might be great in other places, but, talent is never looking for a job. They're always being offered jobs. So you got to go find them and offer them the job.
Totally agreed. Totally agree. We do try to find them and everything.
Yeah.
We do have a great job descriptions. We've worked on this. I spend money to have the right things. They show up to the interview. They answer the right questions.
Yeah.
They start working literally the 3rd week, man. They don't even wait for the probation period. Huh?
But you've only fired one person.
Yes.
Okay.
They quit.
Okay.
I have
So
a
you
very
have
high
lots of
turnover.
employees.
Yeah, I do. I have very high turnover. I'm not happy about it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to get coaches to get deep into it, see what's going on. Because I do take some of the blame. But if someone's showing up to the interview and telling me,
You might
I'm
like
coachable,
this.
I learn fast, I do this, and then 3rd week, they complain because I asked them, we agreed on finishing this task in 1 hour, why it's taking 3 hours, and they're getting pissed and they change their attitude. I can't help, but if they're lying in the interview, I can't just help it. I can't have a lie detector on the interview.
I think you're going to like this. Simon Sinek, you're familiar with Simon
Yes.
Sinek, start with why. I really enjoy him. His favorite question in an interview, he just said, you know what, this is a great interview. He's like, I got to tell you, I'm someone who hates surprises. He said, so if we were to start working together 3 weeks by, what's something that you think I should know now that might surprise me a little while after? And he said, you'd be fascinated what people tell you in that. They're like, under pressure, I couldn't get this way and that way. He's like, oh, that's very insightful. Thank you for telling me that. It's like, I've never tried it in an interview, but I heard that the other day. I'm like, oh, Simon Sinek, always dropping the gold.
I'm going to try it. There's a weird question that I ask in my interviews. That's the last question usually I ask. What's your relationship with money? It's crazy, man. It's like 90% of the time. Oh, I don't have a relationship with money. I don't know. I've never thought about it. Why do you work? I start helping them with the question. And then you can feel it. They work to survive. And then I ask them this question. What do you think of millionaires or billionaires? 90% of the people that I interview locally in Ottawa, they hate the living of millionaires and billionaires. They believe there shouldn't be someone too rich when there's someone else struggling.
Okay. And they're working for small business owners who are trying to, break through financially. And
yes.
That's amazing.
It's
an interesting question.
Yeah. I could ask them, why do you think is this person struggling? And make them realize that they're struggling because they didn't try hard, because they give up, because they're losers. But I just I know I'm not going to hire them. Literally, I've been interviewing because I learned so much about interviewing. Before, so stupid. I used to meet with you. If we're bonding, I hire you.
Yeah.
Right? I look some of your work. Now, I've been trying to interview for 9 months. I couldn't even find one position because I know all the right questions and I learned so much about interviewing. And that's why I'm bringing up the labor board and this stuff, because they're making the culture really hard. It's there is employment companies. They have candidates looking for jobs. They have their resumes and they link them with us, and then they help with, they cover the first 2 or 3 weeks of training or something like this. Dude, let's say I'm hiring social media managers positions. You look at the resume experience with social media and passion for social media and whatever. She sent me about 35 candidates. Now I'm like, we need to jump on a call. I jumped on a call. I'm like, listen, if you want to find them jobs, if you want to actually find them jobs in this career, they need to read about a couple books and say, I read this book. They don't understand anything about social media. They still think they can find a job in social media. What you're trying to do is to find their matchmaking, but they're actually not qualified for this field. So you won't be able to find a job. I'm happy to provide the books or the YouTube videos that they need to watch so they can add things to their resumes. Like if you want to find a job in social media and you don't talk about algorithm, you don't talk about marketing psychology, you don't talk about matching clienteles with the products, You know, all they have on the resume is like, I studied this program in Algonquin College and I'm passionate about social media and I have an Instagram account. And they still think instead, these government organizations, instead of sitting down with them, telling them, you're not qualified, go get qualified, read, work for free, and come back, I'll help you find a job. They're telling them, there is a hope, I'm going to find you a job. It's just, they're making it so darn hard.
So we're
to this culture.
About experience right now. Do you ever use behavioral hiring or behavioral tools?
I do have some software where there's like a couple questions they ask. Someone actually did it on me and I liked it. So they analyze you if you're a director, driver. I do use them. Again, man, people lie. People know exactly what you want to hear. They do it. They do whatever it takes. When they're in debt, they do whatever it takes to do it. I'm not saying don't use them. Yes, use them. It does help with filtering. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm hiring the wrong people. I'm saying it's just I can't find the right people.
No, I'm asking because it's been one of the tools that's been most helpful for me. I've worked with I've gotten certified in some of these tools to help leaders through. Like DISC is one of the most common ones. There's a lot of organizations that are better than others in terms of the providers of the DISC profile. I'll run those courses periodically, have another one in January coming up. The idea is that if I can understand someone's communication style, they can lie on the questions and I'll read through it immediately.
Ooh.
And I remember having a guy apply for my team. He was one of the
losers.
No.
You wanted to say it.
I wasn't.
Because Jesus came into the conversation and helped you not to say it.
So I gave one gentleman an assessment, and we sat down. We started discussing his desires, his purpose. And I was reading through the assessment, and I stopped and I said, I gotta say, this is the most inaccurate assessment that I've ever read. I said, did you fill this out? Or did you have someone fill it out for you? Like, what's the deal with this? And he laughed, and he's like, I said, no, I filled it out. He said, I just answered in a way that I thought someone would want to see me, like, in terms of, like, talked like I was an alpha, like a driver, like, because I figured that's what they wanted to hear in sales. And I said, you lied on the behavioral assessment? It was the funniest thing to me. Anyways,
that's what I'm trying to say.
But you can read through it once you understand the tool.
But why does employers and business owners now, they have to deal with all this stressful shit just to find people to work with? Why our governments don't create some good culture that helps, business owners be more respected and, hey, no, he's not your daddy. He's not your boyfriend. He's not your girlfriend, or she's not your girlfriend, like no one is there to please you. You're there to deliver for them and grow together. That's how it is.
So is the issue the way the government creates culture, or is it the way that culture creates the government?
The government created this culture.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I think. And they created this culture because, if there's so many winners, the government can't win.
But then ultimately, we voted in our own government. So was it to be the culture?
You voted, not me. And I can vote, but I didn't vote. This is like, the most, it's okay, I see where you're going. So the majority of people voted for this government. So the majority of people did want this culture.
Where was the culture? Is the culture from the people or the government, right?
Honestly, that's why I ask you, because I've been here only for 5 years. My grandfather was here 40 years ago. He owned a restaurant. He said like people used to be more ambitious and want to work harder and they didn't have this much issues. And I've asked throughout these interviews and so many other people, they said the work culture has been decreasing, especially after COVID, because, some young kids, they got rich off some coins.
I think what you want to hear is, what you're asking for is my philosophy of why culture is shifting. Is that what we're getting at here?
Sure, we'll ask this question. No, I just wanted you to admit that the government is shit. But I get your point. I get it. Not everyone wants to say it. So why do we have this shift?
I'm not thrilled about leadership across the board in our country. I grew up in a country that was very different than the one we live in today.
Where did you grow up?
Canada.
So it's my first coffee.
You didn't grow up in Canada. It's a fair question.
What did you call that country before? It's like,
it's so interesting to see how Canada was so safe and stable and steady for most of my life, and then in the past, 5 years, there's just the shift that's happened in the way what's permissible, what's not permissible, the way education is, everything is moving so fast and so different now that it surprised me about how one leader, just leadership, could change a country so fast. That's been my biggest revelation. And I think it's part of the reason why.
So you need to coach Justin Trudeau. That's what you need to do.
Well, I mean, I think it's part of the reason why guys like you and I are so passionate about bringing more good into the world, more good into leadership and business and politics and all these places. At the core, there's a lot of external factors that we can blame.
Yeah.
You know, but the truth is, this starts in the home, right? How did your father lead you? How was he present in your life, or was he busy doing his own thing? I think what we're experiencing now is a culture that is insecure, is a culture that is not confident. And I'm not saying about every person. I'm just saying, like, as a culture, these things exist. There's higher suicide rates. There's, confusion about identity at a whole other level than it's ever existed before. and I nothing against anybody who's in a dark space and trying to figure stuff out and making decisions. Nothing to do with that. No judgment in that sense. The issue is that we have a culture that thrives on individualism. Go be your own person. Well, there's a cost to that, right? If other cultures throughout thousands of years have existed for the family nucleus and for the community, decisions that impact us all versus impact me alone. And so now you're seeing a lot, like tens of years of people growing up in a place where their parents were so busy pursuing their own interests that they were left, without being kind of poured into. There's no presence of mom and dad walking with their children in the home and raising them to be good human beings and making wise decisions and teaching what ethics are. And so they left the schools to teach to it, right? Or what? So anyways, I'm on a tangent and it doesn't cover the whole, but I believe systemically my role in my own family is just to make sure that my children, I'm present for them. And that's a big part of what I believe leadership is as well, is being present for those that you're helping become the next, best version of themselves.
I really agree with you. Like till now, every time I'm trying to make a decision, I remember what I used to do with my dad and the business when I was 9 years old. And my dad, like I know, like he did so many mistakes in leadership, from the mistakes or from the good things, because he was also very clever, smart business owner.
Yeah.
I learned so much. And yes, it starts from, picking the right wife and then pick the right mother to your children and being the right dad.
Like if you have now most of us don't have this story, but if you have a really good parental model where your father really respects your mother and your mother really respects your father, and they communicate and they work out their challenges together and they put each other first, that's going to be your model of how you choose a mate in society. Right? When that model is broken, it becomes very difficult for you to choose the type of person. And there's a lot of experimentation that has to happen for you to get to a...
Cole, do you have kids?
I have one son right now, 2 years old.
God bless. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you change diapers?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Okay. I have a multiple choice questions for you.
It's not the diaper question? Okay.
No, this is not.
We go too deep in the diapers.
You answered me. Okay, so we have a multiple choice questions here. It's very fun. There's options. You have to pick one of the options. All right? You ready?
All right, I'm ready.
What makes you rich? Money, knowledge, or happiness?
I don't like the word, but I would lean for happiness.
Why did you start your business? Lack of job opportunities, to prove something, or to follow a dream?
First business to prove something, current business to follow a dream.
Money to me is a protection, a weapon, or we can use a tool because someone got scared, or a bridge. So protection, a weapon, or a bridge?
Bridge.
I'm successful because I was patient, I was impatient, or in between. If I could go back, I would invest my money in real estate, on myself, coaching, mentoring, or crypto and stocks.
I mean, it's hard not to want to throw a little bit of money in crypto in hindsight. But given the industry I was in, I would have put more into real estate, seeing what happened over the past 20 years.
Do you give back, yes or no?
Yeah.
Are you a strict boss, flexible, or an asshole?
Flexible, but I tend to hire people that are strict on themselves.
I like that. Political party. You can skip this question. That's the only question I allow people to skip.
No major. I mean, conservative if I'm going to vote. Yes, I vote for conservative.
Good luck next round.
Yeah.
Does your business affect your life? Yes, it's my whole life. No, I have a balance.
Now I have a balance, yes.
Work hard or work smart?
Smart.
Would you rather deal with clients or a team? I know this answer. With the team, because you like coaching. Well, now your clients are like
Yeah, so that's,
Right?
the irony of it is that I'm
So it's
working with
different.
clients to help them with their teams and
That's
you know,
right.
their home life.
That's right. I love that. I love your answers. Most of them, not the diapers one. Okay. So how we end this podcast? It's been a beautiful podcast. I really like it. I'm grateful for you to come here. I know your busy schedule. I chased you down. I really had to beg this guy to come on this podcast. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man.
We have 2 more steps.
Okay.
I ask you to give an advice to the audience, or 2 or 3. And the last one is if you have any questions for us. So we'll start by, what's your takeaway message? What's your take home? There's a student there. They just graduated. They want to start a business, or they want to be a good employee to become a CEO. Or there's the small business owners who are struggling and they need help. Like, you need to give me 2, 3 advice that can help all this big category, if it can happen. If someone can do it, is you, Colt.
I think the bottom line is don't do it for others, right? There's a tendency that we want to build something that will look good, and that's only going to lead you to some of the darkest places and loneliest places in your life. And, you know, from my story, if you've learned anything, the safest route, the best route, the most exhilarating route will be to not to look to the competitors, not to look to anything other than deep within you, and find out who's the person I'm most passionate about at sitting across the table from and helping them get to their goals. When you get clear on that person, you know, hey, there's a way I can help this person. That's the beginning of the best business you've ever built in your life.
I like it.
It's good. Appreciate it.
All right.
It's my truth. I just got to be honest about it.
Last section. Do you have a question? I hope.
Sorry, what's that?
So last section. Do you have a question? I hope not. I hope not.
Why do you do this?
How do I do what?
Why do you do this podcast?
This podcast, business education.
And why is that important to you?
I started my business thinking that I know everything, and it will be like this.
I know a guy just like that. We won't introduce them, okay?
We won't. So I thought, I'm going to start a business. I figured it out. I know how to get clients. I know how to deliver the project. I'm a good project manager. Can just get some people. We'll do it. It's easy, right? My ex-girlfriend at the time, she's like, JC, please go back to school. Please go back to school. Please go back. Please just do this program.
Yeah.
I still hope I didn't. I'm still glad I didn't listen to her, because what she was talking about is more like the technical stuff in the field. But she was right. I needed way more knowledge that I had. But guess what? I fucking did it. Every year was profitable, but it took 3 years to get the big jump.
Yeah.
You know, this year we had 8.5 growth.
Nice.
But I've done plenty of mistakes. You know, there's a couple talents that I lost. That was my mistake.
Yep.
There's a couple clients that I lost. That was my mistake.
You have to.
I learned, but hey, if I had the education, if I had listened to a podcast like this or stories like this, if someone forced me to listen to a couple books before I start getting these clients, doing these managements. Dude, I started interviewing. I don't know how to interview. Started this. So I know there's so many, and I still see it happening. So many people come to me because they see, I'm doing okay. They ask me, like, what do you think I should do? And I start asking them questions. They own a business. They don't have a business lawyer or an accountant. They're doing their own accounting. Like, they're doing the one-on-one business things that you have to know. They don't know it. And they're actually business graduates from school.
Right.
They actually did 4 years program. They actually spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. They still don't know how to do any of this stuff. So this really means to me, because I really want to help young people out there, or people who are struggling. You know, when you're struggling with your business and you don't know if you can pay rent next month?
Oh, I know.
It's not fun.
I've had many of those.
It's not fun.
It's not fun at all.
Right. And, having a podcast where you hear some other stories and how they did it, it will help you to do the self-reflections.
Yeah.
I never knew how to do self-reflections. Yeah. I knew how to analyze, how to do conclusions, and then that's the problem, that's the solution. But I've always blamed other circumstances, and I was always the victim. Oh yeah, we had this problem in the office because this person did this, so we could have done. But why did this person do this? How did they feel that is okay to do this? Well, it's my mistake. So self-reflections. I did learn it from so many good friends and from being in the ditch alone for so many fucking times.
I remember being $100,000 in debt when I turned 30, and just before 30 years old, and saying like, oh man, I really don't have this figured out like I thought I did, And those are where you learn the most critical lessons.
Yeah.
Right? How did I get here?
Thank God, not there yet. Thank God, not there yet.
I hope you don't have that lesson.
I've been in a very tough situation where literally my check was bounced back. But in 2 weeks, I recovered.
Nice.
I've been always in the ditch alone, but I never let myself stay in the ditch because it's because of my why. We'll get this on another podcast.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Well, JC, I just want to say thank you for doing this podcast because we need more great voices like yours and your guests, and you're making a difference, man. I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.